My friend Eric, what do you know? He strikes again on Twitter. And the largest contention, right? I mean, the UFC is always evil in all of the narratives that Eric does. But the largest contention is that Jon Jones-Francis wasn't made. Now, there's a couple of reasons. First off, and this is supported even by our own MMA community, Dana White's ego. Dana White's ego is stopping it from happening. Not the fact that Francis is under contract with a different promotion, that it would be illegal for Dana White to even approach Francis Ngannou. You would think that that would be the leading reason. Like when you have MMA journalists, and I realize what an oxymoron it is, right? Like, it's kind of like porn star. You can do porn, but they don't have any stars. So like MMA journalists, I get how weird it is. But if you're telling the story and you're trying to say it's Dana White's ego, that is the only thing that's interfering. You think that you might come down to that on the list, but you would start with a very clear legal precedence. Francis is under contract with somebody else. Dana can't even have the discussion with him. So as much as other people want to come to the media as a way of luring Dana out, I mean, just start with that and then work your way down and then come to the ego. I'm okay with that. The problem is when we bring in history, because history will take you back to a year called 2022, which had a date called March on the 11th day, at which time Francis Ngannou fought Ciryl Gane, and Dana White went to a press conference and said, I want to do Francis and Jones. So the idea that there's an ego that is stopping that fight, or that Dana White himself is stopping that fight, it was Dana's idea. The first person to ever say those words was Dana. And it's very relevant that you know that. It wasn't like Jon Jones went on social media and told the world he wants to fight Francis first. Jon did that, but he did it after Dana said it. Francis Ngannou did not beat Ciryl Gane, grab the microphone, and say, my next opponent will be Jon. He did some of those things, but it was after. It was Dana's idea. So the very guy that you're accusing of not making the fight because his ego was too big is factually not correct. Now, I want to explain something to you guys. I'm going to speak as slowly as I can. I'm going to explain this as simply as I can. When somebody misses making a fight, or we fail to make a fight, or we have a regret for making a fight, or we have two guys that want to fight, and you just can't get the promoter to see it, whatever the reason might be, you have to understand the ingredients that must be involved, okay? Oh, I got to tell you, I mean, it's aggravating for me. I try with you guys. Back up, hold this thought. Let's back up one step. Do you understand that as a promoter that has 776 athletes under contract who he owes 3 fights to a year, do you understand just because you have the sense that God gave geese that we are not going to have a discussion before each fight? That doesn't mean you can't talk to somebody. That doesn't mean there isn't somebody you can't reach out to. That doesn't mean your manager and so-and-so can't connect and you iron some things out. You and I are not going to talk before each fight. And it's not a rude factor. We can't. There's only 24 hours in a day. All the other things I have to do, I got 776 of you times 3, and I only got 365 days to do it, right? I mean, these are the laws of logic. And I feel as though I shouldn't have to explain this, but I do. But it's very relevant to understand that, because you know what I'm going to do as the promoter, because I know you want to talk. And I know you think your value is going to change. I know there's things within your career that you want to talk about. I'm not going to be able to do any of those things, none of them. But I do want peace, and I do want everybody happy and whole. And I do want you to sign that contract I put in front of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some guarantees that are not assets to me or any bank or any of my partners. They are absolute liabilities. But I'm going to make those guarantees over 3 fights, over 5 fights, over 6 fights. You get the point? And the one thing I don't have to do, regardless of the pain in the ass and regardless of the liability, and regardless if you end up like the other 760 guys under contract, which are interchangeable mediocrities that are never going to bring me a return, I don't have to talk to you. I can move on and do something else. I don't have to talk to you. I find out that you want to fight, or if I offer you a fight, or I have a representative do that, all we need to do is discuss opponent and date. because we've already got the fee worked out. So when you have two guys that are under contract, in this case it's Francis and Jon Jones, but when you have two guys that are under contract and they come to you and try to tell you, we wanted to do this and we couldn't get it done, for that statement to be true, okay, that statement isn't true. Like, you guys don't get to say, well, Dana wouldn't put me in a fight. I think I could have beat that guy. We understand there's confines and you're not under contract. You're not in this. You're not in the league. You understand they both have to be under contract. So if you get Jon Jones and Francis to agree that they want to fight, whether that's in the media, that's socially, they came and met each other in a hotel lobby, fights get made all of these different ways. But if you do that, you must be willing to fight for what's already been discussed, because we're not going to talk. And that's the part where you always get lost. And I understand there's exceptions to that rule. I understand Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou might be one of those exceptions. That might be such a big deal and such a big fight at just the right time that it does warrant a face-to-face. It does warrant a one-on-one. But that face-to-face and that one-on-one and that bump and pay and all the things that you're hoping for are largely going to come from when it's my idea. If I see what a bird in the hand I got, if I see all these things align and I call you, I'm likely going to call you knowing I'm going to have to make some concessions that you're going to be a scumbag and turn the gun on me. But I've done this enough times that I know you're going to do it. You lose and forfeit the right to say it's my fault when I have both of you under contract. Hardest thing in the world to do. You got 5 men on the face of the earth that are able to do it. I was able to do it. I'm your pro. I was able to do it with you two guys that everybody says is the right fight. I happen to have both of the right guys. What are the odds of that? But I did it. You said you wanted to fight. You said you're willing to fight him. The moment that leaves your mouth, that means you're stipulating to what we've already agreed to in writing. The moment you say, I want this fight, I want to fight him, I challenge him, that automatically by default means that you stipulate to what we've already negotiated. When the other side comes out and says, I want to fight him, and they attempt to say that the promoter failed to make it, they're leaving out, they didn't want to honor the contract. They wanted a whole new discussion. It's very important that you do understand this, right? The whole reason the promoter's going to do a contract in the first place is to not just know what he's got and when he's got it, it's to keep his finances under control. It's nothing but a liability. How would you like to be a promoter that honor contracts when you're in the pay-per-view and live gate business and a world pandemic hits and shuts half of your business down, known as live gate? How would you like to do that? That would have held up in court if you didn't do it. You could have argued in a federal court that it was an act of God, that it was outside of your control. A lot of companies did. Every single one of them got away without paying. But if you work for the one guy that says, no, I'm not going to do that. I got a deal. I know what it meant. I am going to honor it and I'm going to find a way. I'm just sharing for you. I'm just sharing for you. When you have this perspective in mind and you're acting like you're the honorable guy, there are times we've had two guys call each other out. We've had two guys that wanted to fight. We'll look back. We made a mistake. For sure, we have those times, but there's a criteria to meet that definition. If you have a contract and that dude has a contract, we've already discussed everything but the date. That is the only thing that there's still left to discuss. But if you were to tell the rest of the story, that wasn't the case, was it? You wanted that face-to-face. You wanted that talk. You wanted to change the terms of the agreement. You have been an interchangeable mediocrity since you got here, and you have been nothing but an expense. And the second that was ready to change, you wanted to talk. Look, you're not alone. I'm not faulting you for it. It's a good deal if you can get it, and they're all going to try it to some degree, whether they have access to get there or they ask a manager to do it, and he's got to put their pants on because he doesn't want to look like a fool. They all try to do it. You're not alone, but you do forfeit the right. You forfeit the right to say it was the promoter's fault. We wanted to do this. When you wanted to renegotiate and retalk about the terms that you'd already agreed on, and to have a lawyer come out and misrepresent that so flagrantly and arrogantly, that's not right.